at sea.
Confused or unable to decide what to do. For example, Lolly was at sea while choosing dress for her sister's wedding at Berlin store. Lolly was at sea while choosing dress for her sister's wedding at Berlin store.
At the 11th hour.
The latest possible moment. For example, just minutes before the deadline. Angel definitely submitted her assignment at the 11th hour.
Be in a tight corner.
Being in a difficult situation. For example, Olive is eager to say something in support of her really best friend, as Jill has helped her so much in the past in a very tight corner in that place.
Beating around the bush.
To talk about unnecessary things. For example, when Billy asked his secretary about the missing file and documents, she was beating around the bush.
Bite off more than you can chew.
Take on a difficult work that is beyond your capabilities. For example, by accepting to part-time jobs, Stefan is clearly biting off more than he can chew.
Bite the bullet.
To get something over with because it is inevitable. For example, the kids decided to bite the bullet and clean their rooms that are so messy so they could go to the park.
Blow off steam.
To release or let out stress or frustration that has built up inside over a period of time. For example, Roy's favorite way to blow off steam after studying for exams is to play video games.
Bury the hatchet.
Ending a quarrel to make peace. For example, Uncle and Auntie had been avoiding each other since the divorce, but I saw them together this morning in the store, so they must have buried the hatchet.
Cut no ice.
Fail to make an impact. For example, Joe says, "I'm sorry," but that ridiculous rationale cuts no ice with me and will not change my mind to keep this business.
Cut to the chase.
Getting to the important point. For example, as the submissions were to be made tonight, our boss cut to the chase and asked us to start working.
Face the music.
Face the reality. For example, Sheikah asked her husband to not run away from the problem and just face the music once.
Go back to the drawing board.
Start over. For example, well, it's back to the drawing board for Mothy because his proposal was rejected by his boss again.
Go cold turkey.
To quit or stop addictive or dangerous behavior. For example, Millie was eating way too much junk food and was gaining a lot of weight as a result. Finally, she just went cold turkey and stopped buying anything but healthy food.
Hit the books.
Going to study. For example, Derry won't be able to come for dinner, as he has to hit the books for his half-yearly examinations.
Ignorance is bliss.
You are better off not knowing some things. For example, this man never keeps up with the news or cares about the troubles in the world because he believes that ignorance is bliss.
Break the bank.
To be very expensive. For example, Caroline had to break the bank too, but these shoes.
It is always darkest before the dawn.
Things will get better. For example, his brother says, I know you have gone through the worst, but remember it is always darkest before the dawn.
Jump the gun.
To act on something promptly before the right time. For example, Alex thinks he jumped the gun by sending the email before they tell the time to him.
Light at the end of tunnel.
Seeing signs of improvement in the future. For example, although only 45 years old, she could see no light at the end of the tunnel and had begun to feel old and rejected.
Like a cakewalk.
So easy task. For example, everyone took hours to write the essay, but Anna did it like a cakewalk.
Penny wise and pound foolish.
Careful in trivial matters, but wasteful or extravagant in large matters. For example, Eric eats ramen noodles daily for dinner, but for his dog, he threw a big party. He is indeed penny-wise and pound-foolish.
Play by the ear.
To improvise. For example, Mary doesn't know exactly what she is going to do this weekend. She is going to play it by ear.
Put something on ice.
To put something on hold. For example, she kept her own dreams on ice 4 years while her husband has pursued his career.
Ring a bell.
Sounds familiar. For example, Melissa says, "Why does this name ring a bell in my head? Was that girl in my school?" Melissa says, "Why does this name ring a bell in my head? Was that girl in my school?"
Stab someone in the back.
To betray a close person. For example, Steve says to new staff that he is going to love working here. Everyone's really nice and he doesn't have to worry about anyone stabbing him in the back.
Swan song.
The last piece of work of an artist before his or her death. For example, this performance was Michael Jackson's swan song, the last time that a legendary gives a performance in the stage.
The best thing since sliced bread.
Extremely good. For example, when I first got this computer, I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread.
The whole 9 yards.
Everything, all the way. For example, when I was little, my family always had lots of pets: dogs, cats, hamsters, birds, fish, rabbits, the whole 9 yards.
Through thick and thin.
Through good and bad times. For example, books stay by my side through thick and thin. Books stay by my side through thick and thin.
Throw caution to the wind.
Take a risk. For example, Sally threw caution to the wind and rode as fast as she could.
To be in the doldrums.
To be in a low spirit. For example, when he got to know about the increasing cases of COVID-19 in his area, he was in the doldrums.
To have sticky fingers.
To be likely to steal. For example, the last person we hired as a cashier turned out to have sticky fingers.
Turn a deaf ear.
To ignore what someone is saying. For example, whenever her mother complained of her excessive use of mobile phone, Lee turned a deaf ear.
Twist someone's arm.
To convince someone. For example, Dave was not planning to come to the party, but by remaining him of all the good food, he twisted his arm.
Wear your heart on your sleeve.
Expressing yourself too openly. For example, Sheila is a very sensitive person and wears her heart on her sleeve, so it's very easy to hurt her feelings.
You can say that again.
That's absolutely true. For example, Brian, oh my God, this exam was very difficult. Becca, you can say that again. It was the hardest test I've ever taken.
Wild goose chase.
Futile chase. For example, it turns out that her brother took her car keys. She had been on a wild goose chase this whole morning, searching them in the entire house.